Welcome to the Why Not Today podcast, where we celebrate courage, determination, and the power of saying, why not today? I'm your host, Leslie Kane, and in each episode, we dive into inspiring stories of individuals who have taken bold steps, faced their fears, and embraced the possibility of today. From entrepreneurs to artists, dreamers to doers, we explored the moments when they said, enough waiting, why not today? Join me as we uncover the heartwarming, the audacious, and the transformative. Whether it's pursuing a lifelong passion, overcoming obstacles, or simply choosing joy, our guests share their journeys and inspire us all. I started this podcast in honor of my father, Patrick Kane, who often said, why not today? And we are just in the beginning of season 4 of the podcast, which I'm super excited. We've done over 100 episodes, so yay. So my guest today, Kerrie, is part of the beginning of season 4. And I always share in the beginning, remember, you're only one decision away from changing your life. And Kerrie is a perfect example of that. So I'm excited. Kerrie Schram is my guest today. And I was talking about where we met and where we connected. So Kerrie and I met at a Million Cups event. And I had presented. Did we meet before the presentation, or is that the first time?
We met, I think the first time we really met was at 1 Million Cups. I've seen you around, but 1 Million Cups was definitely it. And hearing you speak, I was completely blown away and inspired.
Well, and I always say too, when I meet people and I know exactly where I was and what I was doing and remember, then you're in my life forever. So guess what? You're in my life forever. I remember standing near the kitchen and Million Cups by that pillar and talking to you. And then you reached out to me and we've gotten together several times and I feel like instant friends. And I'm so grateful for having you in my life. And as we've talked, I've really unfolded more of your story. And I always say in these episodes, there's a story behind the story. And boy, girl, you got a couple of them. So first, let's start with who is Kerrie and what's a fun fact about you?
So interesting. I'll be 50 next week. So I'm like,
Happy birthday.
it's a
Another
little
reason we're
crazy.
connected. We're both March babies.
Yes, I was born and raised in Rhode Island, and so I'm a New Englander, and then moved from New England to Virginia in '95 and started my new life here in Richmond. I am married of 28 years to my husband Aaron, and have two great. Now they're not boys anymore; they're men. 21 and 24, and they make me very proud. So.
And what's a fun fact about Kerrie?
So I went to school in Chicago to be a master cake decorator. So I can do,
Really?
yes, I do wedding cakes. I love working with gum paste, and I do like figure piping with buttercream. So
My
it,
goodness.
yeah, it's fun.
I did not know that. So I'm gonna have to get you to make me a cake sometime.
Yes.
Yay. Well, welcome, and I'm excited to have you here and hear about your journey. Before we start with that, what is your definition of courage?
So for me, I think courage is doing things that make you feel uncomfortable, but leaning into that. And I think it's also repeating that. It's just you got to keep doing it to get comfortable with the courage, but it takes courage just to say, "Hey, I'm going to try this and I won't die, but it's going to be uncomfortable." And I think that's what courage means to me.
So true. And I like the repeating. Nobody else has said that before. That yeah, we got to keep asking, keep doing. Why not today over and over again? It's not why not next month, why not next year? It's daily.
Why not every day?
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so we met at the Million Cups and I was presenting that day. And yeah, as I said, I've uncovered your story and you just shared another piece of it the other day, which I didn't know. So let's go way, way back. And one of the reasons I do this podcast is to give people hope and permission, and you just never know. And everybody's got a story behind a story. So share with me your high school journey or high
Yeah.
school experience and how you had to navigate life early on. And it's so impressive where you are now.
Thank you. So, a rebellious teen, senior year in high school. I wasn't the best daughter that I could be, and really caused a lot of friction at home. So my parents eventually said, "You are out," and so I was kicked out of my house.
And how old were you?
18.
18. Wow.
Yep, just turned 18. So they could do that, and they did. And they had every right to. I wasn't a great kid in my teenage years. So I thought, well, I can do this. I'm not going back. I'm going to prove that I can live life on my own.
And had you
Um,
graduated from high school yet?
I did not. And so that
Okay.
was that's this is what happened. So I got kicked out, had to get a full-time job and couldn't handle a full-time job and then trying to complete high school.
And
So
where were you living?
I lived wherever anyone would take me in. It's
Wow.
like, so I stayed with friends. And then I met my boyfriend, who is now my husband, at a hockey game. And the spiel was, hey, like, I need a place to live and you need to get out of your parents' house. Why don't we move in together? So
I guess it
so we
worked.
we did that. And I didn't complete college, but I knew that it was something that I had to go back and do
High
once.
school or college?
I'm sorry, high school.
Okay.
So yes, but I wanted to go to college. So I knew that in order to do that, I'd have to get my GED. So
So was your
cocktail,
husband instrumental in turning you into a more responsible adult? Or was he a
uh,
hot mess too?
yeah, no, so he's about 4.5 years older and definitely more mature. So he was able to help guide and navigate me through the difficult time of trying to figure out who I was
Okay.
within those early days.
All right. So you went back, I think you said you got your GED
Yep, got
and
my
you
GED.
were working, and where were you working? What were you doing?
I was a cocktail waitress and I was working a lot of nights and taking on any shifts that I could. And I said, you know what? I don't think I can do this for the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
I also felt like at this point, so it was about 2 years of being on my own with my boyfriend. Um, I felt like I owed it to my parents to show them that I've changed and I'm different. And I kind of owed it to them, I felt. So I said, why not today? Off to Virginia I go. And so
So why'd you go to Virginia?
well, my parents moved from Rhode Island to
Okay.
Virginia 95. So
Okay.
um, followed them here. And then my boyfriend said, hey, I'm coming too. So I said, you can come. And so we moved in together we in Chesterfield. So it's yeah, it was super crazy how everything transpired.
Yeah. So obviously you got your GED. Did you ever go to school, college?
I did. I went to college for 2 years and decided it wasn't for me. At that point, I was working retail and I was doing some cake decorating. That's why I went to school for it. I thought, wow, I really like creating and being artistic, and I enjoyed making cakes. So
Well, and that's an important message too, that college is not for everybody. And we try
no,
to put everybody in that, like, that journey that you're supposed to be doing, but it's not for everybody. And, if it's not for you, I know a lot of super duper successful people that never went to college. I know somebody that at 15, she dropped out of high school because she had her first baby and her parents kicked her out and she had to lie to even get a job. But now she's a multimillionaire.
wow.
Just never know, that it's not always that journey. So, all right, so you're working retail, lots of different retail places, and then you had another major why not today, I don't know, moment or life change that totally pivoted and changed your life. So talk about the car accident.
Yeah. So
When did that happen?
it happened April 8th in 2022. I
Okay.
will never forget the date, but
So it wasn't even that long ago.
yeah, not too long ago, a couple
No.
years ago.
Wow.
So, driving home, I worked like 2 weeks straight, and I was like, oh, it's a me day. So I got my hair done, I went shopping, and wanted to meet my son for lunch. And so I was driving home on a somewhat like a freeway, and while I'm driving, I see a tire come across the median strip, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like coming right at me, and there was no way to avoid it. Um, hit the car. When it hit the car, it hit the battery, so the metal hit the battery and it started a fire. And then what happened was after it hit the front and the battery, it hit the frame of like the windshield to the roof. So my windshield shattered in like a million pieces. And then the tire flew up behind me. But I knew that two things. One, I had to get the car over to the side of the road, and I also had to get out because the car was on fire.
Wow.
Um, and I knew I couldn't get out my
Did
driver's
your
side.
airbag deploy? Obviously not.
No, it didn't.
No.
Just because of the way the tire hit, it did not deploy, but it was on fire. So I'm like,
And obviously you know where it hit after the fact. You didn't know where it hit when it happened.
correct, after the fact store. But I knew it
Yeah.
hit the front because I saw it, like it crashed the front, and then it went from like towards like the windshield, the top part, and then
Can't even
flew.
imagine. I know I duck when a bug hits your windshield. You know, you're kind of like,
I
but
was
can't
really like
imagine.
this though. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Yes. And I knew
So
I
you
had to,
got, yeah. So let's talk more about that. So you had to get out. So it was on fire.
yeah, on
People stopped
fire.
to help you.
Yes. So I crawled out of the car, across the seats, and there was a gentleman standing there, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "It hit my car too. It's the craziest thing." He goes, "The tire was on fire in the air as it went down and it hit his van." But he's like, "Oh my gosh, it was the craziest thing." And the I think the most interesting piece of this was that trying to get the car over to the side of the road, I was probably the most calm I've ever been, which in a situation like that, I would have thought I would have panicked but I don't
Adrenaline.
yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was just like, okay, I can get the car over and then I get out and then I panicked. It was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And the tires exploded. So like there was a lot of like sensory things going on at that time. And um typically like I would have gone back to work after something. Like I am a worker. I
So
love
was your car destroyed?
yeah, yes, completely. It was totaled. It burned from the front to the back. There
And
was
you're just
nothing
standing
left.
there watching it, or by that time were there rescue people there?
Yeah, with it, fire trucks, rescue came. Yes,
Crazy.
yes, it
And I know
was.
you showed me a picture you have of your wallet or something that was in the car.
Yeah, so in the wallet was completely burned. And so the fireman handed my husband the wallet and said to him, you could get like something out of it if you cut it open. So when he brought it home, he actually had to cut it open with pliers because it was like, it was completely blackened on the outside. And on the inside, there were several things I was able to take and keep. And one of them was a $2 bill, not a $2 bill, but two $1 bills. And so when I look at that, I think, at first I was like, wow, the money stayed. And I thought that's kind of crazy. And then I actually had a blank check. I carried a blank check in my wallet because I thought, gosh, if I ever have to write a check,
Right.
I'll at least have one in there. And then I also had a picture of my aunt who had passed, but I always kept her picture with me because she was such a hard worker and an inspiration that whenever I thought like, gosh, can I make it through today? I always had her
Oh,
picture to
wow.
remind me
That's
like,
special.
you can do that. So those were the three items I was able to salvage out of that. Like my license was burned, my credit cards were gone. But I looked at it as like, okay, the $2 bill, that's so interesting. It's like I looked at it as like it's a second chance of
Mhm.
life. The blank check, I looked at it as if as like this is a new beginning. Like it's a blank check, right? So it's something new and different. I get to start over.
Yeah.
And then my aunt's picture is great. I'm so happy to still have that.
Yeah. So special. So you walked away from this? Any
Hmm.
injuries?
Yeah, so I hurt my shoulder trying to get out because there was glass everywhere and just getting out. I don't know. It's just
Right.
like
The
rushing to get
adrenaline
out.
superpower. Wow.
But yeah.
All right. So you started to say you were getting ready to go back to work?
Yeah, so I'm the type of person that I gotta go back to work. So I went to the doctors and I got checked out after, everything's stiff and sore and everything
Right.
hurts. And I'll never forget the doctor held my hand and she said, uh, I can't write you a note to go back to work. You're not ready to go back. You haven't begun to process this, and you need time for that. And so I was just like, wow, I didn't, I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna go back, right? And so
That's something that happened today.
right? So 2 weeks off. It was a really good thing that I was able to have that time. There was some grieving involved in it, which I didn't even think that would be a thing, but it was. I couldn't drive for almost a week. I was afraid to
A
drive.
whole week.
Yes, it was. I had people drive me around, but
A
um,
whole week, Kerrie, that's not much.
yeah. Okay, well, it was I like to go out and about. So, but yes, it was definitely it was a lot. It was a lot to take in and it was a lot to process and I didn't think that it would be, but it was.
Yeah.
Um so,
And we just keep going. And I think that's a good lesson for life. And
mhm.
especially with what's happened in the world. We're recording this in 2025, and hopefully it'll be still around for years to come. But, we didn't realize the effect COVID had on all of us. We never stopped to grieve the life we don't have anymore. We
Mm.
never stopped to memorialize it. We just, I don't know about you, but I doubled down and worked harder and went into survival mode. And that keeps happening in life. And, we keep getting those reminders, you got to stop. And like just a snowstorm sometimes just causes us to slow down. And we don't take that. And those of us that are workaholics and take value in working hard and we just keep going, and we need to take some time and reflect.
Yes, it
Um,
was so important for me to do that
yeah.
too.
Thank goodness for that doctor. Did you thank
Yeah.
her?
I did.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. I said that was the best thing that you could have done because it allowed me to pause and take time to take care of myself, which
Yeah. We
sometimes
need
we're
to do
not
that.
good at doing that.
All right. So then you got your second chance. And
Yeah,
you wrote a
second
blank check.
chance.
So let's talk about where you are now, which is so cool,
Yes,
and where it's taken you.
absolutely. So received a call from my brother probably about 3 months after my accident. Um, he's like, "Hey, a great opportunity for you." He said, "We're looking for an executive director for our nonprofit." And he was, I think you'd be a great fit. And and I was like, me? I don't know anything about nonprofits. Like, I know nothing about a nonprofit organization, but he said, you have a heart for people. And he said, you can learn the rest. So now, before my accident, I would have said, you are crazy. This is just not going to happen. Leaving a stable job to like sign a 2-year contract for a job that I might not have in a couple years. Um, but I thought, well, tomorrow isn't promised. So, like, why not today? Right. So
Mhm.
it's a new opportunity and it's a great way to learn and grow and make an impact. And so here I am. I took the opportunity.
That's awesome. And I know he said there was just two things you had to do.
Yes, I'll never forget that either. So I sign all the paperwork and I meet with the founder of the organization, and he says to me, "So I'm like, oh, so like, what is it that you want me to do?" And he goes, "I have two things," and I'm thinking, "Oh, two things, right?" And he said, "I need you to change the world," and
Mhm.
he said, "Oh, and I need you to run a golf tournament." And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what I get myself into, right? Because change the world, that's such a huge thing to do. And I'm one person. And then the golf tournament, I never ran a golf tournament. I didn't even know anything about golf. I was like, okay.
I was gonna say the change the world probably sounded easier than the
In the
golf.
golf tournament, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. And not only that, but you're running this nonprofit from Richmond, Virginia, which is 2 hours from where the nonprofit is located.
Yes, and then also the other part was to create a program and a process for the nonprofit. When the nonprofit first started, they did more like what I call like passion projects. So they would run certain
And why don't
projects.
you mention what the name of the nonprofit is and what you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was formerly Kairos Charities, but it is now Accelerated Visions.
And
And
and go back, because I love the story of how did that come about, the nonprofit?
yeah, so our founder, a founder and a co-founder left Mantech. They both founded Kairos Technologies, and they they spun out different companies. And one of the companies that they spun out was Carbon Black, which was a put them on the map for endpoint detection. And they ended
What is
up
that?
endpoint detection, like when systems get hacked, they would
Okay,
be able to find out where they were hacked. And they did this probably about 15 years ago, so like before the cloud came about. So
okay,
they were able to streamline that process. And the company did very well and then sold. And so what they did with the money was they put money back into Kairos Technology so they could continue spinning out other technology cybersecurity companies. They started a VC for other emerging tech companies that they could invest in and incubate. And then they started a nonprofit to help emerging nonprofits with
that's
technology
awesome.
solutions. So
I love the story behind that. You got so many good stories.
thank you. Thank you.
Um, So yeah, so then you had to come up with procedures and a program. So let's talk about what you're doing now and if people want to get involved, like how can they get involved and what are
Yeah,
you doing?
100. Yeah, would love to tell that. So, uh, I knew in the retail, being in the retail industry, that we work with talented, young, talented university students. And a lot of times, the students would continue to work retail after they graduated. And so it was just like, well, why aren't you working in your field? And a lot of them would say, well, I don't have any experience other than I have this college degree. I need experience. So um, the thought process was like, how can we add value to nonprofits and then maybe help students along the way? And so this whole thing came about was we found a university, West Virginia University. They were doing projects similar to what I thought we could do with nonprofits. And I called them up on the phone and I said, hey, this is the idea. Um, would you be willing to take on a project? And they said, sure. So we did a project with 500 Rising. So it's a project for women who train women in self-defense. And so she needed a platform, a new platform. So we worked with the university students, brought in an industry mentor to help guide the students in the nonprofit on the project. And when the project was complete, she received a fully free developed platform. She was the only requirement is that the nonprofit pays for the maintenance, and it actually ended up saving her $200 a year. And she had a great platform for all of her training materials, her website, and PDFs that she used for training. So
Awesome. And I know you do a lot with Virginia Tech as well, and you've connected with me with somebody there to work
yes.
on my for-profit business. I love that.
Yes. So we do like business map canvas. So basically working with the nonprofits through the pain points. We've worked with Virginia Tech to be able to do these great projects to help create like what does 5 years look like for your nonprofit. So working with the nonprofits through their pain points to get them to success in 5 years.
How many nonprofits have you guys helped? Do you know?
Yes. So we've helped just with projects alone, we've helped 5 nonprofits. And then we have 3 more right now that we're working on. So
That's awesome.
probably about 8 so far,
So if somebody
nonprofits.
has a nonprofit, um, how can they get help with you or what are you looking for?
Yeah, so we're always looking to connect with nonprofits and help them along the way, whether that's a technology solution or a roadmap, right? So working with their pain points. So we'd love to connect with them. They could visit our website at acceleratedvisions.org
You're
or
going to
they,
include that in the show notes.
okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Or connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you.
I love what you're doing and how you're making a difference. And I love your story and who would have guessed from where you started to where you go and all that you've done. Um,
Thank you.
and so excited to know you. So I'm going to throw in a little self-promotion here just because it made me think of it. Is when we met the other day, I just talked to somebody about having other people share your strengths based on a story. And the first time you saw me speak was at Million Cups. So share just, and again, it's a little self-promotion, but I think, we all, and I talked about this on the anniversary issue or episode, a friend of mine interviewed me, but I think we all lack a little confidence when you're trying new things. And I'm sure you did with your starting this nonprofit, and you had to figure it out. It's one day at a time, and just why not today's? And so, I'm very comfortable in my other world, but this new why not today is still new. So share, if you wouldn't mind, what you shared with me about hearing me speak and what
Yes.
that did
So
to inspire you.
completely resonated with your story, completely resonated with the fact that you did something uncomfortable that you've always wanted to do, but that you did it. And so I was very inspired to hear your words. And what I love is that you connect other people and you help give them the confidence that they need to get through another day. So you're great at being able to say, like, hey, challenge people, right? So what's the one word of the year, or giving people tools to be able to be more successful in their life. And you bring that, and you bring it with welcoming, and you're very kind in your approach.
Well, thank you. And I would say all those things ditto that you do. I think that's why we connected. And I'm so grateful for you and your friendship. And although we're not physically close, we still figure out how to get together, and got together last month in Richmond. And we're going to get together next week in Richmond and when you're up here. And I would love to meet your brother too at some point
Yes,
when you're up here.
he's great
Um,
too.
Yeah. So, all right. So I always tried to tie this back to my dad, and people are like, I didn't know your dad. Um, but I would say the big connection with my dad is your car accident.
Mm-hmm.
And when the night he graduated from high school, he was actually supposed to play football for USC. And him and his buddies went out drinking and got in a car accident and was thrown 300 feet out through the windshield. Totally scalped him. And it's interesting. Through the years, I've heard more of the stories that he lost sight of his eye during that accident. And I didn't realize how severe it was. You just kind of hear, oh, he made a pivot. But when he had a stroke in 2000, he was pretty much unconscious for months. And he was saying things from his accident then were coming back that he was saying, which was crazy. But he had to pivot, and he valued life so much because of that. And when he passed away, my brother's actually the eulogy, they talked about his plan. He was a planner by profession. It was plan A, B, and C. A was he was going to go to college, didn't happen at USC. So, I mean, this was years ago, obviously. My grandfather put him on a train after he recovered. I think he was in the hospital for months. But once he recovered, put him on a train and sent him to Notre Dame to go to college. Like, who does that now? And so he went to Notre Dame. Well, that's where my mom lived. Grew up is in South Bend, and that's how they met. So it went that way. And his whole journey, it sounds like yours, was a lot of pivots. And he always valued life. My mom and dad got in another accident right before they got married. And again, severe. My mom actually has a scar on her cheek that my brother thought all moms had. I didn't know what it was. My dad always had an eye patch because of an accident, but you didn't really ask. My mom, the scar on her face. And my dad, again, had been scalped in that accident, was directing traffic. Just talking about the adrenaline, you do what you got to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was in high school, I got in a car accident, and it was a minor fender bender, stupid, leaving the bowling alley, see a cute boy, and next thing you know, I hit somebody's car. So my dad loved his car. I thought, it was all about the car. Well, I was terrified to tell him. And so he was out of town. He came home with flowers for me to say, it's a stupid car. It can be repaired, and
Mm-hmm.
you're okay. And that's all that matters. And that has been such a valuable lesson to me, which hopefully you're passing on to your kids. Like, life is too precious. Car, get over it. You'll get another one. The little things that happen in life. It's ironic how some people take more care of their cars than they do their lives. I heard a story one day, this guy, spending all this money and time, getting his oil changed, his car washed and detailed, and then he drives through McDonald's drive-through.
Ah,
You know, I'm not spending money on that, but we're gonna spend money on cars. So totally can relate with my dad and all that you're doing to change your life. And I love how you took the symbolism of the things in your wallet
mm.
and using that. So how would you encourage somebody else to say why not today, to if they didn't go to high school or graduate from high school, college, or they're sofa surfing, or somebody gives them an opportunity for something new? How would you encourage somebody else to be courageous and say why not today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think sometimes it's about the journey you're on, and you never know where the journey is going to take you. And listen to yourself. I think sometimes we fail to do that. And as we get older, we learn things that we wish we knew when we were younger. Um, and so I think listening to that internal voice of saying, hey, if you think you can do it, then you can do it. Because if you have dedication and you have the willingness to learn and you surround yourself with great people, you can do anything. So take a chance on yourself because tomorrow isn't promised, and why not today?
Exactly. What a perfect way to end. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome.
and I'm excited to announce that if you're listening to this in real time, we are kicking off another Why Not Today Courage course, navigating overwhelm and chaos in your life with tools to help you be a better person, a better employee, a better business owner. And that is going to be April of 2025. So you'll see some more information about that. Of course, we just celebrated 3 years with the podcast, and I'm kicking off a new Why Not Today Wisdom, some weekly experts popping into my Facebook group or doing Zoom. So some cool things coming up. So thank you, Kerrie, for all your wisdom and all your stories. And everybody else, thank you for joining us on this inspiring journey, which it truly was. Remember, every day is an opportunity to take action, chase your dreams, and make a difference. So why not today? Subscribe, share, and keep pushing forward. Remember, you can find everything you want to know about Why Not Today under whynottoday.movement.com. And until next time, stay motivated, making things happen, and say, why not today? So thank you, Kerrie.
Thank you so much. Take care.